Hi, Arcfieldweather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Monday morning, December 19th. Well, the Arctic blast that we've been tracking for many days now has pushed from western Canada into the northwestern part of the U.S., the north central part of the U.S. It will dive to the south over the next few days, all the way from Montana, North Dakota, into Texas by later this week, and then it'll spread to the east. And it looks like there'll be a very powerful Arctic frontal system that reaches the I-95 corridor region of the Mid-Atlantic, of the Northeast U.S. late in the day on Friday, maybe Friday evening. And that frontal passage will be quite dramatic indeed. It looks like a place like D.C., Philadelphia, New York City could experience very strong wind gusts upon the arrival of that Arctic blast late Friday evening, maybe 50, 60 mile per hour wind gusts. Temperatures will plunge immediately behind that frontal passage, and that means there could be a quick freeze up or a flash freeze, if you will. Any remaining water, wet spots on the roadways from prior rainfall that will take place Thursday into Friday can freeze quickly with the passage of that Arctic front late Friday night. Could even be a few snow showers and snow squalls putting down a quick coating in the I-95 corridor region of the Mid-Atlantic region. Let's go through the next several days. And again, first we have to deal with this record-breaking Arctic outbreak for the central part of the nation, from places like Montana, North Dakota, all the way down to Texas. I expect to see some low temperature records over the next several days. Let's start off here by looking at the ensemble run of the GFS from last night, 0Z. This is just some incredible cold for this time of the year. When you see purple shading like this on this particular scale, that's some 25 degrees Celsius below normal for this time of the year. This Arctic blast originated over Siberia, and then some cross-polar flow developed in the upper part of the atmosphere in the polar region, allowing for the transport of that Arctic air from the Siberian side of the North Pole into the North American side of the North Pole over the past several days. It has slid down western Canada and now again is reaching right here, the interior northwest, the north central part of the U.S. And it'll take a track all the way down. The core of that coldest air will take a track all the way down to Texas over the next few days, and then we'll see it'll spread to the east. Again, very, very anomalous cold here. Now let's move forward here and watch what happens. It dives to the south and east, and then pretty much the core of the coldest air. And by that I mean the most severe when it comes to comparison to normals for this time of the year, dives from the north central part of the U.S. all the way down into Texas. Here we are now into Thursday and Friday morning. So again, right now, entering Montana, North Dakota, and then this Arctic plunge, a record-breaking Arctic plunge, goes all the way down into Texas, and you can expect numerous low-temperature records over the next 3 or 4 days in this part of the nation. Meanwhile, in the east, a very strong storm will take an inland route and pump some very mild air along the eastern seaboard Thursday night, Friday time frame. There's really two parts to this late week activity in the eastern U.S. On Thursday, there'll be a strong storm pulling up to the west of the I-95 corridor region. That will produce some rainfall Thursday night into the day on Friday, and some of that rain will be heavy at times. Can't even be a thunderstorm mixed in. Strong south to southeast winds. Now, let me point out, the very onset of that precipitation early Thursday morning can be a brief period of snow and or ice north and west of I-95. Let's say the suburbs of D.C., Philadelphia could have a brief period of frozen precipitation at the onset, but the bulk of the precipitation later Thursday night into the day on Friday will be rain for D.C., Philadelphia, New York City. Could even see temperatures rise sharply up into the 50s by early on Friday, ahead of the incoming Arctic blast. This is now Friday morning, and watch what happens at this time. We have an expansion to the east. Again, it started off over Montana, North Dakota, dove into the deep south, south central U.S. by Thursday, Friday time frame, and then started making a move. And right here, this is the delineation between that Arctic air to the west, very warm air to the east, a very active and powerful frontal system here making its way to the I-95 corridor region late in the day on Friday evening time frame. Let's move forward here, and here we go. By Saturday morning, Christmas Eve day, that core of the coldest air moves right into the eastern part of the nation. This will be a frigid weekend for the eastern half of the nation for Christmas Eve on Saturday and Christmas Day on Sunday. Some of the coldest Christmas Eve, Christmas Day holidays that we've had in many, many years throughout the eastern half of the nation. Certainly, the cold will be very noticeable, but probably by midnight on Friday night, but certainly by early Saturday morning, we will be in the deep freeze in the Mid-Atlantic region, and it sticks around. Here we go, right into through the upcoming weekend. This is Sunday, Christmas Day, and finally by Monday morning, 1 week from right now, still way below normal along the eastern third of the nation. Now, will it get warmer after that? Absolutely. This will be the coldest air in North America for a few days, so it inevitably has to warm up some later next week, and we'll talk about that over the next several days. But certainly a frigid weekend coming to the eastern half of the nation for Christmas Eve Saturday and Christmas Day on Sunday, and that will follow record-breaking Arctic blast into the central part of the nation over the next few days. Well, how does this translate to the 500 millibar pattern here? Let's take a look again using the ensemble run of the GFS from last night, the 0Z run. That Arctic air mass has an upper level low associated with it. Now let's move forward here. And that upper level low dives southward into the northern U.S. And notice here some ridging by later in the week, really expanding and intensifying over the northeastern part of the nation. Here we are by Thursday morning. Indeed, this will turn out to be a milder day on Thursday in the northeast, and even milder by the time we get to Thursday night and Friday relative to normal. But that upper level low dives to the south and east, and then like the cold air at the surface, it'll start to move to the east by the time we get into the end of the work week Friday and into the early part of the Christmas week. And this is Saturday morning, very, very deep upper level low situated over the Great Lakes region by the time we get to Saturday morning. That's December 24th, and it kind of sticks around right through the day on Sunday. This is Sunday morning, December 25th, Christmas morning. Well, let's now walk through the surface forecast maps using the operational run of the GFS from 0Z last night. Again, I'd like to focus in on the 0Z and 12Z runs of the computer forecast models. They have the freshest radiuson data used as input, so I think that's critical here, and I'd like to stick with the 0Z run here. Starting off the day here in the Mid-Atlantic region, we have cold, dry conditions. It stays relatively quiet, chilly right through Wednesday of this week in much of the eastern half of the nation, but then Thursday and Friday will produce some active and some wild weather throughout the eastern third of the nation. Now, let's move forward. And with this Arctic plunge down into the first into the central part of the nation, there will be blizzard conditions all the way from the central part of the nation. Right here you see all the into Thursday of this week some accumulating snow as that core of that cold Arctic air plunges all the way down into Texas. This will be accumulating snow, and there will be blizzard conditions associated with this Arctic frontal system. Now, here we are by late Thursday evening time frame. Again, kind of a two-part scenario to the late week here in the eastern third of the nation. We will have low pressure well ahead of the Arctic front forming in the eastern part of the nation on Thursday. It will take an inland track, meaning it will allow for the transport of some milder air up along the eastern seaboard later Thursday night. There can be a brief period of snow and or ice at the onset here early Thursday, north and west of DC, north and west of Philly. But ultimately, this becomes a plain rain event going into Thursday night time frame. Winds will be quite strong out of the south and southeast. Meanwhile, here is the position of that Arctic frontal system come late Thursday night, early Friday morning. Blizzard conditions, no doubt. Look at the isobar pattern here. These black lines in these surface maps represent lines of equal pressure called isobars. The tighter these lines, the closer the spacing, the stronger the winds. And this will be all-out blizzard conditions, maybe for a short period of time, but maybe 6 to 12 hours or so as this Arctic blast arrives in the Midwest, in the Great Lakes region, all the way to the Appalachians into the day on Friday. Again, blizzard conditions out here, and this is the position of that surface Arctic front by the time we get to early Friday. Let's go into Friday now. Again, still mild, windy along the eastern seaboard. Strong south to southeast winds well ahead of the Arctic front on Friday morning, with some plain rain all the way up into the mountainous region of upstate PA, even New York. Primarily a rain event. But here, blizzard conditions across the Great Lakes region, across the Midwest, as that Arctic blast arrives here on Friday morning, and it just moves into the east. And look at this. Outright blizzard conditions all the way into the Appalachians. This is now by Friday evening, and right at this time you have that surface frontal boundary zone approaching the I-95 corridor region. This is late in the afternoon on Friday, early evening on Friday. The Arctic blast will arrive along the I-95 corridor region from DC to Philadelphia to New York City, all the way eventually into Boston. You will have some powerful wind gusts, maybe damaging wind gusts. Temperatures will plunge immediately behind the passage of that front. We will know in the eastern U.S. when that front comes through. We may go from the 50s to the 20s in just a matter of a couple of hours. Any wetness on the roadways could freeze up in a hurry. And again, there can be a burst of snow immediately on the backside of that frontal passage, and blizzard conditions right here reaching the central Appalachians by the time we get to Friday evening, and unbelievable winds throughout the Great Lakes. This will be a newsworthy event all week long, really. We'll have numerous low temperature records broken between probably tomorrow morning and Friday morning from North Dakota, Montana, all the way down to Texas. Then we'll have blizzard conditions mostly in the Thursday, Friday time frame as this Arctic blast begins to make a move to the east. Blizzard conditions in the Midwest. Parts of the plains will have blizzard conditions as well. Certainly the Great Lakes into the Appalachians, there will be blizzard conditions, damaging wind gusts all throughout this area from the Midwest to the Great Lakes into the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast later in the day on Friday. Again, here we go. Notice some snow depicted here by last night's run of the GFS all the way into New Jersey, maybe even in the coastal sections here, just on the backside of that very powerful, very strong surface Arctic frontal system. Again, watch out for a flash freeze. We keep moving ahead now all the way into Saturday morning. Now this is Christmas Eve day, Saturday morning, a deep freeze all the way in the Mid-Atlantic region. Again, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day will be some of the coldest such days in many, many years throughout the eastern half of the nation. You'll still have snow falling throughout the Great Lakes with tremendous winds here, blizzard conditions. Places like Chicago and Detroit can maintain these blizzard conditions going into the upcoming weekend. We'll move ahead here, and the frigid air will certainly last right into Sunday morning. This is Christmas morning, very, very cold indeed. Certainly single digits possible in some of the suburban areas of the big cities. Maybe even Saturday morning, but certainly by Sunday morning, let's say the suburbs of DC, Philadelphia, New York City, you certainly can see some single digits. And the winds will stay strong throughout the day on Saturday and Saturday night. Even here on Sunday morning, still quite windy. Any neighborhood that still follows the tradition of putting out luminaries, lighting luminaries Saturday evening, Christmas Eve, could really have some trouble keeping the flames lit because of the strong winds that will continue into Saturday night, even into the day on Sunday. And by the way, any kind of inflatable Christmas decoration, better watch out Friday night, all day Friday. Well, very strong south to southeast winds on the front side of the Arctic frontal system, and then very strong west to northwest winds on the backside, even damaging wind gusts. So put away any kind of Christmas decoration that's an inflatable, Santa Claus or whatever, Friday night into the day on Saturday. And again, here we are on Christmas morning, very, very cold throughout the eastern half of the nation. So a lot going on over the next several days. A newsworthy week when it comes to the weather, all the way into the upcoming holiday weekend. That's it for now. For ArcfieldWeather.com, I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.